What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to talk about 3 ways you can invest in real estate in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So the first way is going to be flipping a home. So what does that term mean? And you probably watch HGTV and watch shows like Flip or Flop, so you kind of have an idea. But if you don't, what flipping a home means is this: you buy a home and you plan on selling it right away, usually within a year or less if you can, for a profit. So if you buy a house for, let's say, $100,000, the house may need some renovations. So you may want to do some, or you may want to do some upgrades. So you would upgrade things: the kitchen, the bathroom, fix a roof, replace a roof, HVAC. And then your plan is to sell it right away as soon as you can for a profit.
Well, profit.
Well, you buy the house for $100,000. The aftermarket value, or I'm sorry, after repair value could be $200,000. So what that means is you bought it for $100,000. Let's say you renovated it and put about $50,000 into it. Now you're selling it for $200,000. So you're making a profit, hopefully, of $50,000. Now, things that the shows don't show you is sometimes are the capital gains, the taxes, the commission you're paying to a real estate agent possibly, and of course, obviously, the home improvements that you're doing to the home. Not to go down a rabbit hole, because paying capital gains tax could be a whole different thing, and you're probably asking, what is capital gains? Well, capital gains is the profit you're going to make off a home. So go back to my example. You buy a house for $100,000, you sell it for $200,000. That $100,000 that you made could be taxed, and that's capital gains tax. And that's part of your income. So if that's all you do is flip homes, that is your income that you've made. So of course the IRS, Uncle Sam, is going to want some of that $100,000 that you made. Things to, I would say, avoid capital gains, but things to bring it down obviously is, again, example, $100,000 home. And let's say you put $50,000 in renovations in this home. Keep those receipts. You spent money on materials, labor. Definitely keep those receipts so you can show that when you file your taxes, you spent $50,000 on carpet, flooring, HVAC, roof, and then let's say those expenses were $50,000. So you really only made, instead of making $100,000, you really only made $50,000 off that home. Now, of course, if you got a real estate agent, you paid commission, and you paid for an attorney for title work, for deed work, stuff like that. That could all add up. So you not really making $50,000. You may be making about $45,000 or $40,000 after paying all those other expenses.
What the hell?
But definitely keep those receipts so you can avoid paying such a high capital gains. Now, there's two types of capital gains. There's short-term capital gains and there's long-term capital gains. Short-term capital gains is going to be more. And not to go down a rabbit hole, as I said earlier, long capital gains would be something like, a quick example is I bought my house 5 years ago and I live in it for 2 of those 5 years, and then or the whole 5 years, and I decide I'm going to sell it. Say I bought it for $100,000. Now it could be worth $200,000. That's still capital gains. It's not going to be as high as capital gains if you were to flip it right away, because this is my primary residence. I lived in it for quite a while. If you have any question about capital gains, please reach out to me. Love to answer that question for you more in depth if I could. So a second way to invest in real estate would be to buy a property and rent it out.
Rent.
I do have some rental properties myself, so I have about 4 or 5 rental properties that I've leased out and are making that passive income, like I said, and it's a great time to rent a property. Again, across the nation, at the time of this video, it's a great time to be a landlord or own a lot of rental properties, because we have, again, a shortage of homes. So, for example, I just put out a property for lease, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, and I I leased it out for about $1,100 a month, and I had an influx of calls, people wanting to rent this property. So it was very easy to rent out right away, and made that passive income. The market changes back and forth, so in a couple of years that could change with rentals. One benefit I see with rental properties at Fayetteville is
Based out of Fort Bragg.
Largest military base on the East Coast, if not the world. And we have a lot of soldiers coming here, and they're not staying here very long. They're here for usually maybe 2 to 3 years, and they're not looking to live here. They know they're going to make their military their career, so they're not going to be here very long. So they're not looking to buy a home. They're looking to rent a home, and then they're obviously going to be either get out of the military and go back to their home state, or like I said, they're going to make the military their career, and they're going to be stationed somewhere else. So, my opinion, with that influx of soldiers coming in and out, bringing their families back and forth, it's a great opportunity to rent properties to them. For the most part, I think that they have a very steady job, so you're not worried about that income and them not being able to pay their rent or pay it on time. They should be able to pay all that on time. And if this is your first time thinking about buying property and renting it out, one thing I like to tell you is the 1% rule. And what that means is this, and not necessarily you have to follow it by any means, it's just kind of a gauge you use in your own head. So you're looking at property, let's say you're looking at a house that's about $100,000. Using a 1% rule, you'd want to at least have your rent $1,000 a month. Again, I say that's not something you have to do. That's just a lot of people, investors, use that as a gauge. They go, okay, at least $1,000 a month. Obviously, the higher the better. So if you can rent it out for $1,500 a month or $1,100 or $1,200, that'd be the ultimate goal. But you at least want to try and rent it out for $1,000. And right now, again, with the market being the way it is, if you're looking to rent, I would say in the Fayetteville area at the time of this video, if you're looking to rent a house out, let's say it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, between 14 to 1,500 square feet, you're probably looking at your rent being about $1,000 to $1,200 a month. That would depend on the property, the condition of it, and where it's at, of course, in the city. And going back to capital gains, let's say you were to purchase this property and rent it out for a few years and you decide to sell it. Houses typically appreciate 2 to 3% a year. So if you buy for $100,000 and you sell it in 5 years, good chance if it has appreciated, you'd hope it would have appreciated 2 to 3% every year. Again, we talked about capital gains earlier. Your capital gains would be long-term capital gains on this home instead of short-term as if you were to flip the home. So still paying capital gains, but not as much. Another way to invest in real estate in Fayetteville will be Airbnbs. And if you've never heard that term before, an Airbnb is typically when you purchase a home or duplex or condo and you decide to rent it out as a short-term rental.
Airbnb with benefits.
And I don't mean short-term rental as in a few months. It could go that way, but it's more of like a hotel establishment. You are renting out your home or a home like a hotel. It's only for one night. It could be up to 2-3 nights a week or a month. Now, I can't speak for the whole state, but Fayetteville, North Carolina had just passed a ruling back in November of 2021 that they are allowing Airbnbs. So, of course, when you watch this video, this rule could have changed. So before you go out and buy a property to turn into an Airbnb, please make sure that this is still allowed here in Fayetteville. I don't see it going away, but you just never know. Now, that article I talked about, I'm going to leave a link of it in the description, and it's going to be right here in front of you. So you can definitely check out that website right here. And before I go into the types of Airbnbs you can have here in Fayetteville, what most people do when they have an Airbnb, and not saying you have to follow this again by any means, it's up to you, but they typically, let's say your but your fee is going to be $150 a night for this Airbnb. Most people have Airbnb, they usually have Wi-Fi with it, Netflix, Hulu. It's gonna have a kitchen, obviously, and a diner. It's gonna be furnished, so beds, couches, sofas, dining room table, pots and pans. It's basically like a hotel, except with the kitchen. It depends on if you get a suite at a hotel, but we won't go into that. So that's how an Airbnb typically is. Not saying you have to follow that. Now, I don't have any Airbnbs. I am thinking about starting this, and the reason why is this. So let's say you rent out an Airbnb. You rent out your home as an Airbnb, and you charge, we'll say, $150 a night. If you have full occupancy, you can take $150 a night times 30 days in a month, typically 30 days. That's $4,500 you just made. And let's say, going back to my example of if you release a home for $1,000 a night, $1,000 a month. So now you've already tripled your income if you make it an Airbnb. That's a lot of money, at least it is to me. And I think it's a great opportunity to do that. And it's a short-term rental. And let's say you didn't have full occupancy, because you're not always going to have every night. It's not going to always be booked. But let's say you only had 15 days out of the 30 days. You're still looking at a pretty good profit of $2,250 for 15 days. That's still $1,000 higher than you would for your rental. And of course, this will depend on how big your Airbnb is, and I'm comparing it to being a 3-bedroom, 2-bath Airbnb. And you will have to pay for, of course, Netflix, Hulu, the utilities, if that's the way you're going with it. You have to set it up, I believe, as a hotel type establishment. Now, to explain the two types of Airbnbs you can have in Fayetteville. Type 1 is this. You own a home and you live in a home as your primary residence, and you plan on renting out a room for the night or 2 nights. And that's one type of Airbnb you can have. Also, type 1, you can rent out the entire house if you like to for the weekend. Let's say you plan on going somewhere for the weekend. You own this home and you're just going to rent your house out for the entire weekend for, to another family or a couple or whoever for the weekend. That's a type 1 Airbnb in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Now, the type 2 Airbnb has additional requirements. One of the first requirements is you have to get a permit from the Planning Commission. Another requirement is that if you're renting out your house as an Airbnb in type 2, that it can only be rented out 2 people per room plus 2 more. So basically, if you have a 2-bedroom home, you can have up to 6 people there, 2 in each room, and obviously 2 additional. Now, if you do rent out your Airbnb, and to make sure the people renting it know that they are not allowed to have any special events there. So if you're renting an Airbnb to throw a party, you cannot do it in Fayetteville.
There's no party.
Special events, weddings, there's only limited parking that they're going to allow with an Airbnb. And another requirement, it is that you have to pay 2% tax to the city for a hotel motel type establishment. If you enjoyed that video, please check out this video right here where I talk about 10 things about Fayetteville, North Carolina you did not know. And this other video is a video that YouTube thinks you will like. I will see you guys in the next video.